Today's episode is an honest reflection on creative partnership, visibility, and shared authorship through the lens of Tania Rodger's role in building Wētā Workshop and why sustainable creative success is never a solo act. Welcome back to Beyond the Template. This podcast is made for makers and shakers and the people quietly doing the hard work of building something meaningful without a roadmap. Today's episode is about partnership, real partnership, not the buzzword version, not I'll support you from the sidelines version, but the kind of collaboration that makes something possible that would never survive on individual willpower alone. Last week, we talked about Taika Waititi. We talked about starting from the edges, about making strange, funny, emotionally specific work with limited resources, and about how the myth of the lone creative genius collapses the moment you actually look closely at how anything enduring gets made. This week, we go one step deeper. Because when we talk about creative success, especially in film, art, and innovation, we often name the most visible person. This might be the director, the acting lead or face of the project, the voice on the stage accepting the award, the headlined image. And with that, we miss the structure beneath it, the equally as successful builders, sustainers, and architects of continuity. So today we're moving from Taika Waititi to someone whose influence is everywhere in the worlds of New Zealand filmmaking, even if her name is spoken far less often. But before we go any further, I want to ground us here for a moment. If you're new, my name is Caroline, and what I do is create ease and clarity for divergent thinkers and creative visionaries who are feeling the pressure of growth, delivery, and scale. My clients are brilliant. They think in spirals. Their ideas arrive fully formed and wildly alive, but not always in order. And they're often carrying far more than they should be, whether that means mentally, emotionally, or logistically, only because their work has outgrown what one person can realistically hold. I don't coach. I don't consult. I work beside people. I help turn ideas that are already in motion into achievable, grounded action. I bring structure without flattening the soul of the work. I help translate vision into something that can actually exist in the world. And the way I do this is deeply specific. My background spans the arts, counseling, psychology, education, business, and decades of working with creative and neurodiverse minds. I understand both the inner landscape and the external systems required to support it. There isn't anyone else who does this the way I do. And this podcast is part of how I show you what this partnership can feel like. So what's up with me this week? If you've been following along, you know that I've been living abroad since December. Well, I'm still in Wellington, but without needing to house sit this week, I plunged into the city harder than I thought I would, and now have plans to go to Christchurch on Saturday to make the most of my time. Not to mention, everyone has told me to go to the South Island, so at least now I can say I tried. Just as with creative work, your best laid plans have to adapt, your original vision transforms, and managing expectations of what is possible within the time frame you have is exactly the same. This trip has served me in ways that I did expect. However, it also served me in ways that have been a bit surprising. For example, I got depressed as soon as I arrived at my Airbnb because there was no little face excited to meet me. I think house sitting has proven itself to be something I will continue for the rest of my life. I truly, truly love doing it to the point I felt like something was wrong or off when I didn't have to anymore. So here's to another week without a home tether. Next episode, I will be checking in post Christchurch. I can't wait to tell you how it goes. So what have I been up to, though? Aside from still being in my production and film business course, I caught up with one of my best friends and her mom on Monday. How wild, right? They had docked for the day from their cruise ship, and I just happened to be done with sitting that same morning. I've known this person since the Disney College program in 2006, almost 20 years ago. Meeting up for a few hours in a foreign country is on brand for both of us. It's wonderful to connect with people who hold the same values, She is also very independent and adventurous. She is also a traveler and prioritizes new experiences above all else. So here's to those friends who really get you, those golden relationships that are long distance, but whenever you get together, it feels like you picked up where you left off, no matter how long it's been. I have also been doing some deep work on my business. I'm splitting away from the business online. That means social media, YouTube, my website, and email will all eventually reflect this. And it also means I can open myself up to what I want this business to be, a creative collaboration with many different individuals and entities. If you are already following me on Instagram, you may have noticed the name change. The new name was chosen after meditating on it for my full time in Auckland. Âme Collaborative. A-M-E is pronounced âme in French. It is derivative of my middle name, Amélie, but it translates to soul. So it still embodies me while also the soul of collaboration and the collaboration of souls, as well as even the collaborative work of the soul. It's perfect. Finally, I also went to the Wētā Workshop in Miramar, and I was given a learning moment. The Wētā Immersive Tour in Wellington offered the full mini documentary of its beginnings. And I learned that while Richard Taylor may be a more well-known name, his partner Tania Rodger was an equal initiator and founder for the entirety of the business's growth. Tania Rodger is just as brilliant of a leader and innovator, and I want to give credit where credit is due to her. I'm ashamed that my last episode didn't reflect this. I need to make sure that I'm being accurate. Credit matters. Authorship matters. Partnership matters. Which brings us here. This week, we're moving from Taika Waititi back to Tania Rodger. From the visible storyteller to the architect who helped build the entire world those stories could live inside. When people talk about the New Zealand film renaissance, the names that surface first are almost always Peter Jackson and Richard Taylor. The director, the visionary, two individuals recognized all over the world for their special effects genius. What gets lost is that long before those names carried global weight, there was a woman doing the quiet, unglamorous work of holding things together and being equally as out-of-the-box innovative and pushing creative boundaries as far as she could. Tania Rodger did not arrive in film through prestige or permission. She arrived through necessity, proximity, and a willingness to shoulder responsibility long before there was any guarantee that the work would lead anywhere at all. Rodger spent her time seeking creative outlets, some slightly macabre, as a child. New Zealand in the 70s and 80s was not a place that promised creative careers, especially not in film. It was geographically isolated, economically cautious, and culturally modest about ambition. There was no visible ladder for someone who wanted to make things that did not exist yet. For a young woman interested in creative work, the barriers were not dramatic, but persistent. Rodger experienced limited access, money, and certainly a lack of role models to show her what a creative future might look like. Her early creative instincts did not show up as grand artistic declarations. They showed up as observation and organization. She paid attention to how things were made and who did what. She noticed inefficiencies. She noticed who followed through. She noticed how energy moved between people. These are not traits that get labeled as creative genius early on, but they are the traits that make creative ecosystems viable. In the early 80s, the New Zealand film scene was small enough that everyone knew everyone, and unstable enough that no one could afford to be precious about roles. Tania Rodger began working in photography and production support, taking on jobs that were adjacent to creativity but rooted in logistics. She learned how to manage schedules, budgets, and people in environments where resources were thin and improvisation was constant. Her path did not follow a straight line, but did include side jobs and times when her work felt invisible. There were moments where it was unclear whether this was a career or simply a series of gigs strung together by stubbornness. Her partnership alongside Taylor with Peter Jackson did not begin as a power couple narrative. It began as two people making things together because no one else was going to do it for them. In the late 80s, when Jackson was working on low-budget splatter films like Bad Taste and Meet the Feebles, Rodger was not standing on the sidelines. She was producing, organizing, and problem-solving directly alongside them. These were films made over years, not months, financed through personal sacrifice and favors. Rodger managed the slow grind of production that happens when ambition outpaces infrastructure. What matters here is not that she was present, but how she was present. She was the person translating vision into reality. She handled the emotional labor of keeping projects alive when momentum lagged. She negotiated between collaborators, soothed frayed nerves, and kept track of details that would otherwise collapse under the weight of improvisation. This is the work that does not make headlines, but determines whether anything gets finished at all. By the time Heavenly Creatures was released in 1994, the stakes had changed. The film gained international attention, and suddenly the New Zealand film community was being watched. Success brought pressure, expectations increased, and budgets grew. The margin for error shrank. Rodger's role became even more complex. Producing at this level meant managing not just logistics, but the tension that comes from working under pressure in view of the public eye. As Jackson's projects grew in scale, so did the need for reliable partnership. Tania Rodger was not just managing productions, she was helping build an ecosystem. Alongside Peter Jackson and Richard Taylor, she became a co-founder of the Wingnut Films and later Park Road Post. These companies served as the structural solutions to a problem. If New Zealand was going to support large-scale filmmaking, the infrastructure had to be built locally. That meant post-production facilities, talent pipelines, and long-term investment in the local people, not just projects that would come and go. The years leading up to the Lord of the Rings trilogy were defined by uncertainty. The films were greenlit, but the risk was enormous. No one had attempted something of that scale in New Zealand. International skepticism was high. Financing was fragile. The workload was relentless. Rodger's role during this period was not glamorous. It was managerial, strategic, and deeply human. She coordinated teams across continents. She balanced creative ambition with practical constraints. She absorbed pressure so no one else would have to lose their focus. From 2001 to 2003, as the trilogy was released, the world saw the finished product. What they didn't see were the years of invisible labor that made it possible. The systems Rodger helped put in place allowed hundreds of creatives to work collaboratively over extended periods of time. This was not the triumph of a lone genius. It was the outcome of shared labor, trust, and structure. Even after global success, the challenges did not disappear. With projects like King Kong in 2005 and the continued expansion of Park Road Post, the responsibility only increased. Growth introduced new forms of stress. Maintaining culture, preventing burnout, ensuring that success did not hollow out the very relationships that made it possible. Rodger continued to operate largely out of the spotlight, advocating for sustainable workflows and long-term thinking in an industry addicted to spectacle. Over the decades, Tania Rodger has gradually left Taylor to the creative endeavors of the workshop to apply her talents in the associated businesses, along with still giving her time generously to Wētā through crew induction, archiving, and health and safety measures. If you look up Richard Taylor on IMDb, he has been given trivia facts and quotes, along with multiple images of him standing alongside men as part of these achievements. Tania's profile wasn't even given a headshot. What makes Tania Rodger an expander is so much more than the fact that she holds proximity to famous names. It really lies in her refusal to buy into the myth that creativity is inaccessible to women, or that to move upwards she had to compete or keep others at bay. Instead, she collaborated. Her career demonstrates that vision without partnership collapses under its own weight. She did not do this alone, and she did not pretend that she did. She built alongside others, shared credit, and invested in structures that outlasted individual projects. For creatives listening who are exhausted from carrying everything themselves, her story offers a different model. One where success is not about being the loudest or the most visible. It is about being reliable, being relationship-focused, and being willing to do the work that allows others to do theirs. Tania Rodger's legacy is not just a list of films. It's a reminder that creative achievement is a collective act, and that no meaningful body of work survives without partnership at its core. And that while some partners and collaborators don't get to stand in the limelight, they are equally as important in breathing life into the work. Thank you for joining me today for Beyond the Template. Keep it up, keep it creative. Here's what I want to leave you with this week. Where in your work are you still mistaking independence for strength? And what would actually change if you allowed someone else to help you build the structure that your creativity already deserves? If this question landed, don't rush past it. Sit with it instead. And if you're realizing that your work has outgrown what you can sustainably carry alone, that's exactly the moment that I'm most passionate about. If you're ready to explore what real partnership could look like for your project, your business, or your creative direction, I invite you to reach out. You can email me directly at camelyleboeuf@gmail.com to book a free, no-pressure conversation. This is not a pitch. It's a 30-minute space to think clearly together. And if you want to learn more about some of the ways I have been working with clients, you can visit www.camellydesigns.com, where Âme Collaborative is continuing to take shape. You don't have to do this alone. I don't believe you were ever meant to. Follow your dreams when my dream's crazy. I was swimming alone with something under me. Follow your dreams, but dreams are hazy. Was there treading a pool where blue in the deep. Ooh. Follow your dreams when my dream's crazy. I was flying atop rows of orchard trees. Follow your dreams, but dreams are hazy. Weighted low on the ground, grasping air to flee. Ooh. When the air is thick and the road is long, it's easy to forget how to sing your song. But dreaming can only get you so far. With dust in your eyes, not knowing where to start. Follow your dreams, move through precision. Use that song in your heart for each intention. Follow your dreams, thoughts true, attempted. Your creation exists just beyond the template.